Welcome back to the Dental Marketing Mix. I'm Dan Bryan. I'm the co-founder of Dentalscapes, and this is the show where we cut through the noise and talk about what's actually working in dental marketing and what's quietly costing practices patients they never even knew they lost. There's no fluff, no theory here, just real actionable insight for practice owners who want to grow smarter. Today, I want to ask you something that might be a little bit uncomfortable. If your practice stopped showing up online tomorrow, if your Google listing went dark, your reviews were disappearing, your website went down, how long would it take you to notice a drop in new patients? If your honest answer is a few months, you might be in a more fragile position than you realize. Because even if you think word of mouth is carrying your practice, the research is pretty clear. The referrals alone aren't going to get patients to call you anymore. There's a step in the middle that most dentists don't even know is happening. And if you're not showing up well in that moment, you're losing patients you thought were already yours. That's what we're digging into today. The referral illusion, I call it. Why word of mouth is still powerful but no longer sufficient. What actually happens between the moment someone gets a recommendation for your practice and the moment they call, and what you need to do to make sure that your online presence closes the gap. Let's start with the part nobody wants to say out loud. Referrals are not a closed loop anymore. They used to be. A patient loved you, they told a friend, that friend called and booked, right? It was simple. It was fast, direct. But that's not how it works in 2026 and beyond. The recommendation still happens, and it still carries enormous weight. Nielsen research has consistently shown that over 90% of consumers trust recommendations from friends and family more than any other form of advertising. That's not going away. People trust people they know. But here's what's changed. After that recommendation happens, the referred patient goes and does their own research before they ever pick up the phone. They Google your name. They pull up your Google business profile. They scroll through your reviews. Some of them are even asking ChatGPT, is whatever the practice name, a good dentist? And what they find in that moment, or what they don't find, rather, is often what determines whether they actually call. Think about that for a minute. You've already won the hardest part of marketing. Someone who knows you, trusts you, and has seen your work firsthand has vouched for you. That's not easy to buy with ads. In fact, it's damn near impossible. But if your online presence doesn't hold up to about 30 seconds of scrutiny, you can lose that patient to a competitor they've never even heard of, just because that competitor showed up better online. So how common is this? Well, it's more common than you'd think. The data is a little startling. Studies consistently show that over 70% of people looking for a dentist run an online search before scheduling an appointment. And that's not just people who found you through Google to begin with. That's people who were already pointed in your direction. Research across local business categories finds that close to 90% of potential patients will check your online presence before they call, regardless of how they heard about you. And 77% of patients use online reviews as one of their first steps when evaluating a healthcare provider, not second or third, first, before they look at your website. Before they care about your credentials or your services, they're looking at what other people said about their experience with you. Now, here's where it gets even more interesting. A 2024 consumer study found that 84% of people place the same level of trust in online reviews as they do in personal recommendations from friends and family. That's the same weight. So a 4-star average with a handful of outdated reviews can actually undercut the recommendation that your existing patient just made on your behalf. The referral, it sets an expectation, but your online presence either confirms it or creates doubt. And it's not just about reviews. Let's talk about what happens during that 30-second check. Your potential patient searches your name. If you've got a clean, complete Google business profile with recent photos, current hours, consistent information, and a steady stream of recent reviews, that's great. You passed the test. The referral holds. But if they find a listing with sparse photos, a phone number that doesn't match your website, hours that might be a little bit out of date, and reviews that haven't come in for 6 months, even if every one of those reviews is 5 stars, they start to second guess. Not consciously. They probably couldn't even tell you why they felt uncertain. They just did. And some percentage of them are going to keep searching. And when they keep searching, they're going to find another practice. And that practice might have 200 recent reviews, a beautiful website, and a Google business profile that looks like it's continually updated. You didn't lose that patient because you did anything wrong. You lost them in the gap between the recommendation and the phone call. Now, there's also a competitive threat hiding inside referral traffic that almost no one talks about. When your referred patient searches your name, Google doesn't always just show your listing. In fact, in some markets, competing practices are actually bidding on your practice name in Google Ads. That means the very first thing someone sees when they search for you, by name, might be a paid ad for a competitor. They were looking for you specifically, and the search results handed them someone else before they ever got to your listing. That's not a hypothetical. It happens, and it's completely legal. Beyond that, depending on the search query and your local market, Google might also surface other competitors in the local pack or in suggested searches underneath your listing. A patient who searches for your practice name and then sees a competitor with 400 more reviews and a higher star rating might follow the search results somewhere you never intended them to. I've seen this happen, and it happens more than people want to believe. You work hard, you do great dentistry, your patients love you, and they refer their friends. And somewhere in the digital handoff, a competitor intercepts that patient because they've invested more in their online presence. It's not fair, but it's real. Now let's add the AI layer to this because it's changing the game further, of course. More and more patients, especially younger ones, aren't just Googling anymore. They're asking AI tools, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Claude, Google's AI overviews, and AI mode. And when someone asks ChatGPT, say, is Riverside Family Dental good? Or who are the best dentists in Charlotte? The AI synthesizes information from your website, your Google business profile, your reviews, and third-party directories. It doesn't just count stars. It reads the content of your reviews. It evaluates whether your website answers the questions patients are asking. It looks at whether your practice has a consistent presence across the web. If your online presence is thin, AI tools simply don't have enough to work with to recommend you confidently. And here's the critical thing about AI-driven recommendations. There is no page two. There's no second chance to rank. The AI either names your practice or it doesn't. And if it does name you, what it says about you matters a lot because it's going to synthesize the sentiment from your reviews, not just count them. This means something very practical. The content of your reviews matters now in a way it didn't 2 years ago. A review that says, great dentist, is worth less than one that says, Dr. Martinez was so gentle with my anxious 6-year-old, and the hygienist remembered we talked about my job last time. Specific, detailed, human. That's what AI systems can actually extract and use to make a recommendation. So what does all this actually mean for how you run your practice? Let's make this concrete. The referral illusion traps a lot of practice owners because the math feels like it works. You've got a steady stream of word-of-mouth referrals. Your schedule is reasonably full. You're not panicking. And so it's easy to look at digital marketing as something you'll get to eventually or something that's nice to have, but maybe not urgent. But the referral pipeline is not insulated from your online reputation. It runs through it. Every referral your practice generates has to first pass through an online checkpoint before it becomes a booked appointment. And that checkpoint is increasingly influenced by AI-powered tools that have higher standards than a simple star rating. So here's what to actually do about this. First, treat your Google Business Profile or GBP like the front door that it is. It should be complete. Every field filled in, every service listed, photos updated regularly, hours accurate. Your profile should look like someone checks on it every week. Because they should. Because from the patient's perspective, a neglected listing signals a neglected practice. Second, build a review engine, not a review wish list. Most practices have a passive approach to reviews. They hope happy patients leave them, but it's not enough. You need a consistent, systematic way to ask for reviews at the right moment, ideally within 24 hours of a positive visit. And critically, you want to encourage patients to write specific reviews. What they came in for, who helped them, how they felt. Those specifics are what move the needle with both human readers and AI systems. Third, audit what a new patient actually finds. Search your own practice name right now, or have someone who isn't you do it. What is the first thing they see? Is your information consistent across your website, your Google listing, and third-party directories like health grades? Do your reviews reflect the experience you think you're delivering? Is your website answering the questions a new patient would actually have? If the answer to any of these questions is no, that's the gap where referrals are leaking out. And fourth, stop thinking of word of mouth and digital marketing as separate strategies. They are not. They're the same patient journey, just at different stages. Word of mouth is what gets someone to search for you, but your online presence is what converts that search into an actual call. You need both working together, or you're leaving a meaningful percentage of your referral traffic on the table. Here's the bottom line. Referrals are one of the most powerful marketing assets a dental practice can have. The trust they carry is almost impossible to replicate with advertising. But the referral is no longer the end of the journey. It's the beginning of a digital evaluation that happens without you in the room. And the practices that understand this and build their online presence accordingly are the ones who capture all of their referral traffic, not just the portion that happens to find them without looking too hard. At Dentalscapes, we've spent a lot of time building the kind of digital infrastructure that makes that online checkpoint a non-event, a complete, credible, AI-readable presence that confirms the recommendation and gets the phone to ring. If you want to talk through where your practice stands and what it would take to close that gap, book a free strategy call with us at dentalscapes.com/start. And one more thing before I go. If this episode was at all useful to you, it would mean a lot if you took a moment to leave a 5-star rating or review wherever you listen to this show. It honestly doesn't take long, and it is the single best way for us to reach other practice owners who could use this kind of help. We're really grateful for every one of you who does that. Thanks for listening to the Dental Marketing Mix. I'm Dan Bryan, and I will see you in the next one.